Hello, 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 people. How are we doing today? I hope everyone's good. We're here with you guys for another Ball Over Passion video. We're here for a Chelsea preview. I'm here with Curran, mate. How you doing? You doing good?
I'm good. Just in the middle of preparing something for today, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. So I think we're all going to try and make this a bit shorter because we all want to watch United get pumped. So um,
Absolutely. I mean, when you have a look at it right now, what's happening is basically what you would want in a rival game, right? Like something already going down. They've already a goal down. Pogba limping, which by the way, I can tell you was not from a contact injury. So even if it was a grade one in the worst injury, it's 7 to 10 days. He's very likely 90% to be out for us. Which look, even in United in their state, no Paul Pogba is huge for United. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. Um, I hope we can do a little bit of a therapy session. We've got something in store for you guys, absolutely, in terms of what we think the lineup should be going towards. Because Chelsea brings with it a little bit of a conundrum. It brings with it its own little issues, really. You've got Thomas Tuchel, who in Chelsea's kind of form right now are really quite worrisome. But on the other hand, they've got a lot of injuries. So, Kovacic is ruled out already. Callum Hudson-Odoi is definitely out. We've also got, I think, there's also some doubts, I believe, as well in terms of um, some of their other midfielders. Conte hasn't been in the best of forms, and so it's going to be interesting to see how Thomas Tuchel sets up. Reece James has been an injury doubt. He's played, but he's had to have played center back because of his injury return. So it seems a little interesting to see what Tuchel will go with, but even more importantly, Mikel, because I think Tommy Asser's injury return brings with it a massive amount of change that we'll definitely get into kind of in the tactics board here about what it means for us in build up and what it means for us kind of in the attacking third. Because I think a big issue has been, at least for the last three games, is our build up. Our build up has been really um, big of an issue, as well as the midfield. The ability for teams to pack the center, stop us from going vertically up the pitch, has been a real big problem for us adapting to the injuries. And I think keeping the distances tight for Sambi Lakanga and also Nuno Tavares has been a real worry. And we just haven't had the same security in the middle of the park. So I think Tomiyasu brings with him an insane amount of tactical versatility, um, but also a really crucial part to kind of combating the miss of Thomas Partey. What he offers being, dual-footed kind of in the midfield there, and also mainly out of possession, right? Like when Tommy does inevitably get dragged, or sorry, not Tommy, but Lakunga get dragged wide from his position. We have a reliable dual expert. Tommy's one of our most complete dual experts. I think it's been lost on a lot of people where not only in possession but out of possession, our second balls have been quite poor. And Tommy's a big part of securing that right hand side to allow Ben to dictate the way that he can, but also to push Martin Odegaard a lot higher up the pitch, so he's not collecting deep in areas that we don't want him to collect in, and also that he's quite poor. We know that when Martin is dropping deeper into that kind of first phase, it takes him out of positions and zones that we really need him higher up the pitch. And I think as a consequence, it's also made us kind of move Nuno Tavares back for fear of his off the ball, but mainly because we can't have both Cedric and Tavares up the pitch. So realistically, he's had to ask Nuno to keep deep, which I think has been to his detriment. Nuno building up in that phase is not playing to his strengths, regardless of what you might feel on his quality. Ultimately, getting him high and wide up the pitch in attacking thirds and in the final third is what you're really going to get in terms of his best traits. And I think having him deep was a big problem in the last couple of games. But um, current mate, how about you? Like, how are you feeling about the Chelsea game in general? We actually do quite well against Chelsea. Like, I've been going on the timeline, and barring who's fit and who's not fit, um, like I think that there's been a lot of misconceptions about who we are as a team with Mikel against Chelsea. We've kind of had their number in the Premier League for a multitude of games. So, how are you feeling just initially, emotionally, kind of with this upcoming game tomorrow?
right, right. Can you hear me first of all? Because my internet's been no.
Yeah, yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
good. So in terms of what, yeah, good. So in terms of what I'm feeling for this game, it's just It's one of those games where you think I'm more looking forward to Saturday than this game. I think this is a bonus game for me. I think that it's not a free hit. It's not you have to at least turn in a performance, but it's a game that if we can get something from this and really kick on, we can put some pressure on Spurs and on United, who currently are just conceded one of the goals of the season. So they're now 2-0 down. Um, it's going to be interesting to see what we tend to do with what you were talking about with the dynamic with Nuno. If Tomiyasu comes back, is he going to revert to the 2-4-4? Is he going to go 3-2-5 and revert to principles? Is he going to try and there's a lot of different options. Or is he going to go 3-1 and mega in again? There's a lot of different options for him to go. I hope he reverts to the 3-2 build up and keeps Nuno high.
Yeah, it's, I'm just gonna interject because we seem to have a little bit of a
Yeah,
terminator there. Oh, you're
yeah.
back? Okay, go ahead.
Told you it's gone a bit crazy today.
Yeah, mate, like, I think for me,
Yeah,
so,
all I was trying to
um
say is it depends on how he chooses to do it. Yeah,
yeah, I think, like, when you're looking at it, I think this is a tough one from emotion, and this is a tough one from people kind of understanding really where we're at from a 3-game loss, right? Like, there's a lot of issues that I'm seeing from people not maybe looking at what the impact might have for the game, but also looking at really what this means for our top 4 hopes, and I'm kinda with you where I don't think it's a free hit, but this wasn't a game where I'm looking to recollect points, to be honest with you. But I do think that we've got something, as the Twitter people say, low key cooking for, for Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, where I think what these kind of additions allow us to do is they really help us get players in parts of the pitch that they're comfortable, and that's not something that Mikel's been able to do for 90 minutes for the last 3 games, and I
no,
think that's been really key. We've been throwing away halves, which has been the biggest frustration for me, and although Tomiyasu hasn't played, maybe really quickly we can talk about fitness because I've heard a lot of this stuff from people that maybe aren't comfortable with injury and return to play timelines. But the biggest thing is Tomiyasu has been likely training. He just hasn't been picked for quite a while. The issue isn't necessarily fitness per se and re-injury risk. If he passes the daily assessment, which he did for contact training, there really is no risk or reward, more or less, for him playing now, United 2-3 weeks from now. Like it's the same risk he's passed. But what is a valid concern is match sharpness. So things about when to step, when not to step, tracking runners, things that you only receive kind of in game state pace. And so in terms of the risk for re-injury, I know that we've been PTSD'd and there's a lot of trauma between that, but realistically, um, there isn't really a big risk for re-injury on Tommy, particularly in terms of his timeline of return to play. It's been over 3 months now. Even if he had torn his calf muscle completely, he's well overdue in terms of being back. So the risk for re-injury is really quite minimal, especially if he meets his daily stress test. From a physio perspective, he's very good to play. It is the match sharpness though that I would be
yeah,
worried about, but I think he needs a bounce back game because again, the issue for me is picking up points against your United's, West Ham's. Those are the games that I see as potential points to regain. And so for me, he needs this game as a real bounce back game. We call it kind of in the physio world, or ideally you'd want maybe like an academy game. But yeah, I really do think that this is an interesting time, interesting fitness predicament because it's not just him. There's also Emil Smith Rowe. There's also Martinelli who was strapped, and there's also Ben White who's been
Ben
strapped
White. Yeah,
too. So there's a lot of players that are walking wounded that I think it'll be nice to kind of get that boost in because Tommy gives us time on the ball too. I know it's little things, but when you've got somebody that's so two-footed in the build-up in the back there, it just gives everybody an extra breathing space and an extra second to kind of pick their pass properly because they know he can get you out of trouble and he offers a different dynamic to Cedric. Um, but maybe we'll also go kind of to the comments to see kind of what people are saying here. So Poncho, you also need to take into account the team have not been able to get results against mid-table teams, so we're definitely the underdogs in this game. Mate, I think that actually suits Arsenal at this moment in time, particularly actually not just broadly, but I think in the short term we do well and we do better, in my opinion, when we aren't odds-on favorites. We've done quite well in our recent run to really put dominance and control in our proceedings, but um, I actually think when Arsenal are the underdogs in top four challenges, they perform quite well. Yeah, that's not really an issue for me too much. But how about you, Curran, mate? Like, are you taking it positively that we're the underdogs? Are you taking it negatively that we're the
I,
underdogs? Like,
I
what's
I just
your
yeah.
emotional feelings?
I mean, in terms of what we're looking at in terms of emotional and mentality of the squad, etc. Um, it feels like things can't get much worse at this moment in time, and I don't really see this. There's only one way at this moment in time. We've lost 3 games on the bounce. The only way is up.
Yeah,
So if there is one consolation from this, it's just we have to go we have to go for the for it this week. And as I said at the beginning, if hopefully it came through that this game is sort of like a game where if we get something from this, it really can be be a real added extra in terms of how we moved in forward in the season, because we can actually move forward in terms of being level on points with Spurs. Let's just go to, let's just go and see what we can do with the rest of the season. In terms of like what we can do tactically, there's really there's we have a fairly aligned fairly well on this with how we would set up for how we um, how we would do for this game, and it's a 3-2 build up. It's a 3-2 build up with the ability to move into a 2-3 and progress. Make sure you have 2 men in the center of the pitch that you're able to create passing angles, create the ability to get out of the front line first. So let's see. We've got it
let's see.
here. So what
I
I've
mean, we've
yeah
we've got the special tactic board as we always do, and we'll see if we can kind of zoom in to kind of help everybody see this in the meantime. But really, so when we talk about a 3-2-5, I think a lot of people it's tough for them to maybe visualize some stuff. But this is what we talk about when there is a 3-2-5, and what it really simply is that we build in the back of a three, and typically what we've done, kind of really in the past right here is instead of building in a 3-2, you'll have kind of Lakunga on his own, and we'll push Granit Xhaka a lot higher up the pitch. And Nuno Tavares will still stay high and wide when we're in kind of the final third, but we'll build in this odd 3-1 shape. And what it does by adding somebody in the middle of the park, you can kind of already see it right here. You end up getting this box shape that I don't know, Curran, if you can kind of drop Lacazette in the hole really and just drop him a little bit deeper and move ESR high into the goal. That's what we've been trying to do, but with Granit Xhaka. So
yeah
for me, this has been the biggest issue when you're looking at how to get outnumbered in the middle of the park right now. If you can move Granit Xhaka a little bit higher up, Current, and put Lakunga kind of straight in the center there, this 3-1 immediately, what you can kind of see, guys, there is through the counterattack, we leave ourselves quite exposed in this diamond when our players aren't technically reliable. And that's been really the biggest issue that we've kind of seen because right now Odegaard hasn't been doing great, but leaving Lukanga kind of on this island alone, and if you're not going to have people like Lacazette and Odegaard able to receive the ball under pressure, then what you're basically doing is you're cutting off your ability to go through the center. There's no verticality to your play whatsoever. And so what I'm hoping in Chelsea that we simply see if you could kind of put it back, current mate, to the 3-2-5 that we're normally going to suggest. And that's basically to have kind of that traditional pivot where you're going to have Lukunga, though, next to Granit Xhaka. And now with Tomiyasu, what this allows us to do is we normally go to a 2-3-5, a really simple step, and Tommy just steps up into midfield. So now what you're basically doing is Lacazette will still drop. He'll still drop deep. We'll still kind of ask Emil Smith Rowe or Martinelli, depending on who's in charge at the very beginning, to attack the box. I would prefer kind of Martinelli in this setup because we've got Lacazette who will drop deep. But what you're basically getting is you're adding an extra body in the middle of the park. So when Brighton or Palace add a Casado, they add a Mateta to man mark Lukanga. he has two extra options that they can't do because beside him is a Tomiyasu who is dual footed, who has excellent off the ball as well. So when Lukunga drifts wide, Tommy can fill in really deep. You've got Granit Xhaka, who is excellent off the ball and is our best final third entry passer, despite Thomas Partey, by the way. Granit Xhaka remains our most progressive passer, so putting him kind of in higher areas, making those runs off the box that we were talking about earlier in the show, makes no sense to me. Let's put him where he's best, and I think this is the best way to combat Chelsea, who, by the way, are going to be a little bit worse for wear on the wings, especially because they've got Alonso, who's their wing back, and now they've got Reece James, who they may choose to kind of put on the wing, but depending on his fitness too, right? They don't carry the same thrust that they do on the wings with their injuries. And, without Kovacic right here, I think it's up to us to kind of outnumber them in the middle of the park. And I think this is the best way that we can control transitions and negate Lukunga's off the ball ability. This will allow also Martin Odegaard to stay higher up the pitch. Kind of if you remember that like 3-1, Odegaard would have to drop a little bit deeper. Now we can get him on the edge of the box. We can get him combining with players. And I still am very frustrated with Alexander Lacazette, but he's almost a non-factor when you can get Nuno Tavares out of the buildup. That's huge. That's a huge plus. B, it allows for you to drop Granit Xhaka, but also put Tomiyasu next to Lukunga. So now you've got two people that are excellent off the ball to mitigate his off the ball worries. And lastly, you get Odegaard higher up the pitch where regardless of him struggling kind of in his final decision, the higher up the pitch he is, the more likely we can get him closer to goal. And we just want our attackers closer to goal when we're searching for a goal. Yeah, Curran, mate, what do you make of us hopefully employing this tactic in this setup? Do you agree, disagree? What do you think?
I mean, this is the ideal. I mean, for me, I personally, for example, let's just do this. So I reckon just because of the roles, the things, the people we have, I would prefer something like this, where
Well,
we're
I think
making
it's
that
just
out to
because
in
Nuno
run.
will underlap. Like that's what he does.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about with Newcastle.
So basically, yeah, I the only and I know Martinelli can play touchline. I just prefer this run so we can get into that
and why don't you
zone
fix it
and link
also and
up.
put ESR and Lacazette so we can do what we actually prefer?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. So if I prefer this ideally, and then basically this is these four making the diamond, and then you have the ability for Erdegaard to basically have that free right half space role and Saka to be that one-on-one guy just coming in, and Martinelli to be either on the end of crosses from the right half space from Erdegaard or from cutbacks from Saka here. So you have him in this kind of role. Tavares can obviously either go under or go over, so you can have him interchanging with Martinelli. And then ESR can basically crash the box, which I was saying on the review for what do you call it, for Brighton.
He's our biggest goal.
No, Brighton, it's Brighton and Southampton, both of them, that we haven't had enough players crashing the box at times, and it's really frustrating to see how little we're actually having movement inside the box when that was one of our main attributes before this little run. Just to have people in the box, people that are people that like Saka, like ESR, like Martinelli, who are having their best seasons productivity wise, to have them in the box, crashing the box, the ability just to get tap-ins, and then you can have Tavares either come inside and link up with Martinelli and ESR in this triangle here, or you could have Erdegaard, Saka, and Tomiyasu, and Erdegaard trying to make that into out run, and then Saka coming inside. There's a lot of different options, but for me, the main thing is to get people inside the box, to get players in positions that they're actually happy in doing. For example, with Tavares, you can have him go. You can have the 2-4-4 back, for example. So something like this, you can have the 2-4-4 back, and then have Tavares make that inside run to make the 5, or something like this. I mean, there's so many different options that you can do with Tomiyasu back, and that's why he's so important, because his ability, as you mentioned, two-footed, his ability to get out of tight spaces, strong in duels, the ability to progress the ball. These are all very, very good attributes, and the one thing we've struggled at, which is build up recently. So having it back will have a big impact on our build up, and that's the main thing for me.
Yeah, maybe as we're kind of talking, if you can just fill up that kind of 2-3-5 again, how normal you have
Of course, I
Tavares
can.
high and wide, and we'll change ESR back to Lacazette because we'll have to get kind of to what will likely happen in the game. This is what we want to happen, but we'll
Yeah.
probably choose what Mikel will do just to help people understand that. And I think Lacazette will start. I actually do think that he'll start with Martinelli as opposed to ESR.
You think?
And that's only
I
because I
think
don't know
because
if
of the fitness
ESR.
wise, I get it. I get it.
It's purely a fitness reason.
Mhm.
And also Martinelli's done well against Stamford Bridge. He loves Stamford Bridge, so I think he'll lean into that. But when you're looking at this, just to kind of answer Poncho, in terms of, I agree. The biggest worry without Partey is a lack of, off the ball presence in the middle of the park. But this is exactly why I've been very critical of Mikel going 3-1 and not a 3-2 in the middle of the park. So when you do have something like this, um, you basically offset what you lose with Partey by adding Xhaka deep in order to improve that defensive presence and mobility. And of course, when we move in the final third, Tomiyasu just steps up into midfield, and then Lokonga is flanked by two dual winners off the ball who are excellent at collecting second balls. That's why. So I guess Kern, if you just shove Tomiyasu up, which is the very simple change that we do in the final third, and you get Lokonga in the middle of the park, this allows Lokonga to be more adventurous with his passing. It allows him to be a lot more vertical. He can step up if he wants because he's got the security of that kind of box in the back court to really allow for him to press up, squeeze the pitch. And I think we've seen a lack of pressing in the last 3 games because we haven't been able to do this. And it's because we don't have, with Cedric back there, we don't trust him in the middle of the park. We have to keep him kind of wide, providing that overlap. And Nuno isn't the same. So um, ultimately, when you're looking at it, yeah, Nuno would be dealing with Werner, off their left in response to this. But you know, I think ultimately when you look at this too, mate, Reece James, if he was to play right back, he'd be facing up against Xhaka, not Nuno Tavares, which I'm a lot more comfortable with. Whereas if you played a 3-1, Nuno would be facing Reece James, kind of in those wide spaces. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, mate, like I think this is really key. And even if Lakanga stays deep too, Curran, like you have an ability for Granite to probably step up, and I think that's really what you're going to see here, to
If Granite
kind of
steps up
offset
though,
the Werner
if
pace. Yeah,
if
like he'll
Granite's
drop deep. We'll probably leave Saka isolated as we always do, even though the guy's mustard. But I think this is what we're gonna see technically a lot in the game, which is fine because again Tomiyasu is excellent at defending wide spaces. So for me. This is the best way that we can quickly eliminate the threat wide that they have. Because one thing that Chelsea do really well is they like themselves. They're really technical and build up, but they like quick switches of play. So what you can really expect from, I guess, their end is using Rudiger to kind of find people between the lines, which is going to be cutting in from Tomiyasu's side inside towards Ben White. And what I think is excellent there is you've basically got Ben. You've already got him shifted over there, Kern, which is perfect. That's
yeah,
probably what's going to happen. He's going to move from central to back up Tomiyasu in the back there, and that's what Chelsea's biggest threat for me is going to be, that switch from right to left for them. That's been what's so fruitful. Or if they can find Havertz between the lines floating, but again, they still use that right to left switch, and they hope that Havertz goes in between the lines to pick up loose balls, maybe where Lakanga is. But as you can see, by adding somebody in the middle of the park, you add 4 numbers there. You have your own box where it becomes very difficult for Havertz or Pulisic or any of their floating tens to drop deep and collect the ball. I think this is the best way to combat Chelsea. How about you, mate? Maybe last minute
yeah.
thoughts.
I
We can
mean,
go up to
the
the
only
break.
thing, the only thing I want is the main thing I need to see is this. I need to see Tavares high. I can't be dealing with this. It's too much pressure on him, and there's too many people to having to because basically the way that's happened is we've had basically, imagine this is Cedric. We've had basically this, and it's just leaving too many people on an island. It's leaving Tavares on. There's too much space in this area here. I don't know if you can see the mouse, but there's an area here which is so ability to basically press onto him. leaving him open, and then Erdegaard high and unable to help with Lokonga, neither of them dropping. So I need this. I need that is the main switch. If Tomiyasu is back, then this needs to be how we play, because this way you have players coming inside. You have enough cover. Even if you want Xhaka higher, you have someone else in build up to basically create angles. So say we have a ball side build up on the right. It gives the ability for two players in that second line in Lokonga and Tomiyasu to give an option to, and Gabriel as well. So it doesn't leave White isolated, because with Cedric, you're having this. And it's either go backwards or try and play a risky pass in here, or try and play the overload ball onto, for example, Martinelli out here. So these are the main things for me. We need to see more common sense and build up, the ability to actually move back to common principles that we've been playing with throughout the entire season, what's got us in the position that we have. And that is basically this. And that is basically how we need to play now. This is it's crunch time now, people. Even if we use this, for example, as just minutes in the legs for United, because we need to beat United. I think that's I don't know if you agree with this, mate, but it's probably the most important game of the season for me is United. I feel if we can beat them, end their top four challenge, and then move on and do it week by week, then West Ham and then Spurs as well. Just end them.
Yeah,
So
we just go on a march, mate. Like, I think this gives us the best chance for winning, and that's ultimately, I think, the solution for this show that I hope people get out of it is we're trying to look for solutions to give the team the best chance of winning, right? And I think this does for Chelsea in this game. Do I think that we end up getting maximum points? I'm not too sure about that. Is it a game that we absolutely need maximum points? I also do not think that's true. So I think I agree with you. United is probably the most important game of the season so far, particularly if this is unlikely to result in a positive result like a win, which I still don't believe that we do, despite all of this. I just think we don't have enough quality. And Chelsea are
yeah,
on a good run despite all of this. Even though I think Kovacic missing out is a huge thing for them. It's very underrated the job that Kovacic is able to do in the middle of the park for them, because Conte's been having a poor second half to the season. So he's really been their dual progressor. So I really like Kovacic. I think he's criminally underrated, but he's going to be a big loss for them. And I think going into it, United is the game that you're going to have your eyes focused on a little bit. This will be a good bounce back game for Tomiyasu. And I think really quickly, I don't believe that Cedric starts over Nuno, even if Tommy returns, because what it does is that would force Shaka higher right up the pitch. So then you don't get this switch at all, which I think negates the whole benefit of it as well. The whole point is that we want Martinelli making that run into the box that you see higher up the pitch right there, not Granit Xhaka. And if Cedric was to stick over Nuno, you would be seeing that. And with Tomiyasu back, he's unlikely to overlap in the same way Cedric does on the right hand side. So that's why it would force Nuno high and wide. And again, Cedric high and wide is way better than, way worse than Tavares high and
yeah,
wide on the left. So no, mate, I don't think Cedric starts over Nuno. But ultimately, into what you said, Curran, I agree. I think the next couple games after Chelsea are basically knocking down the top four hopes for each of those teams. We have a chance with Liverpool doing the job now. I think Tapera was mentioning like they're 2-0 down at 38 minutes. You love to see it. Pogba out injured, unlikely to face versus us. So that's a huge game. You do effectively kill United's chances at top four by winning that game. And then you go to West Ham, who again, it's sandwiched between two semifinals of the Europa League without Kurt Zuma in the squad. And they have only one recognized center back left, Dawson, right now. So for me, that kills another rival for top four. And then you build momentum, right? Like if you were to beat two rivals for your top four back-to-back bounces, even despite, a loss at Stamford Bridge, you put yourself in a position to essentially be you and Spurs. And by the way, I don't think a lot of people are understanding, but the time that we face Leeds, they face Liverpool. So this idea of a 3-point swing is not unfounded. So I really think, and this is again without even knowing what they're going to do against Brentford, who have a very similar mid block to Brighton. I would expect another goose egg to kind of drop down there in their fixtures. And Leicester aren't the same Leicester that they were earlier in the season, especially with Fofana back. So look, mate, I think the top four race. I don't want to get dragged into another one of these. This is the Chelsea preview, so we'll maybe go into really predictions here. So I think Chris, just to let everyone know, had done a 2-1 win for Chelsea. Current mate, what are you going with in predictions for this game?
So, I'm actually going 1-0 for Chelsea. I
1-0.
think I don't think we go. I don't think we get smashed. But I do see this as being a loss. I think they have a lot of quality. The only reason I see some hope is because the midfield is probably going to be something like Kante, Jorginho, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek or something like that, which isn't as high quality as say with Kovacic in the middle or with someone else that is of that similar quality in the middle. And I don't know. 1-0, but I don't think it's going to be as a toasting like United are getting today.
No, I'm a little bit different. I actually see a draw happening here. I see a 1-1 draw. I think with Tomiyasu's return, there's a lot of security. We're going to see a different Arsenal side technically on the pitch, and I think that we're catching Chelsea at a very good time injury wise for them. I don't think Reece James is up to speed. I don't think Kovacic being out is going to be huge. They have no Callum Hudson-Odoi. So I really do see a draw happening in this game. I think it'll be a drab game. I don't think it'll be exciting. I don't think it'll be end to end. In fact, I think that we'll probably be defending deep in our box for large majorities of it, and we'll probably be counter pressing to better effect. But I do see this being a draw, and I think it'll be a 1-1, which will be tough. But you know what? I'd love that. So yeah, I'm going 1-1 draw to the Arsenal. You guys in the comments, make sure you guys comment what you believe we'll be doing. I agree, except I'm going to go 1-1 instead of 0-0. But yeah, I'd love a win. I'd love to sneak a win. I think, look, a win, what it does is it kind of eliminates the bad faith of the last three games. That's what a win does, at least for fans' minds. So that would be really, really good. In terms of Matt's kind of saying the Stamford Bridge template matching up 3-4-3. Well, yeah, oh, no worries, mate. I think again, lining up in a 3-2 is really similar to that 3-4-3 press, by the way. So, Kern, if you can really quickly just put kind of Tomiyasu deep a little bit, and in reality, like when you build up like this, right, you're gonna have Granit Xhaka deep, and you're gonna have just Nuno Tavares, and also Odegaard will drop high, and Saka will come deep too. So put Odegaard kind of up there. And then Saka will drop deep. Like you end up having that 3-4-3 press because Odegaard and Martinelli will join Lacazette in the press as well. So you end up kind of having that template. That's kind of why I like the 3-2 really, really quickly. And of course, when you press up the pitch, these rotations become really simple. You just put Tomiyasu up in the midfield, and then boom, it becomes a 2-3. Saka goes high, Tavares goes high, and boom, you're up the pitch. So actually, I agree with you, Matt, but just slightly, different, mate. Like I think that's why I want to go 3-2 and build up so that we can end like this in the final third. But yeah, so Oliver thinks 1-0 to the Arsenal. Yeah, so thanks guys for sticking with us. We will let you guys go to enjoy this United disaster class. Yeah, Thiago is kind of insane. I love Thiago, even though he's not my type of player. I know a lot of people classify me as the PNP merchant, but I do appreciate a good technical player. But thanks for sticking with us, guys. We're probably going to wrap it up now. Hopefully, it'll go to a 1-1 draw. But Curran, made any last minute thoughts?
Yeah. First of all, apologies for the technical stuff. I can't control my internet, but I hope everyone's having a good week. I never actually say that usually, but have a good week. We're gonna see a lot of our faces this week, so hopefully we'll be a bit more calmer when we see you probably on Thursday with the review for this. So let's just watch this United game, eh?
Let's
It's gonna
just see.
be a
And
fun
look,
game.
guys, let's take it game by game. Thank you so much for everybody for tuning in, for all your support. Again, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. You hit that little bell for notifications so that you do know when we do upload. We've got content coming for you guys. And we've got Chris that will definitely be coming to join us soon. He's a little bit busy, but we'll have our full strength. We're also walking a little wounded, but we've got a lot of content for you guys. If you guys do want to join and you guys think the membership is something that you'd like to see, there's a little join button besides a subscribe that you can click, and we offer some great membership deals. But yeah, guys, looking forward to this game. I really, for me, I love these tests. I'll be honest. I know fans right now, everyone's emotional in top four battle. They're looking at the weight of advancing the project. But ultimately, when I look at these games, I love a chance to kind of compete against rivals. And I think this is a really good opportunity for us to stop the rot. And I have a sneaky feeling that we're going to have a much different performance with Tomiyasu because he just puts people in places that they prefer. So, yeah, mate. Thank you so much, everybody. And we will catch you guys hopefully with a 1-1 draw. So, thank you. See you next time.
Hopefully.